Conversation is an art form, strawberry ice cream in a castle, and why you gotta earn it in an Irish pub. This week, we're in Ireland.
Traveling the world to bring you delicious dishes, tasty beverages, and interesting experiences. This is the Destination Eat Drink podcast on the Radio Misfits Podcast Network.
I'm Brent Peterson. Welcome to Destination Eat Drink, the travel podcast for foodies. Destination Eat Drink is the place for foodies who like to travel and travelers who love to eat. And this week, we're celebrating St. Patrick's Day in Ireland. But first, take a minute to rate and review the podcast. You're helping me and helping other foodie travelers find the show. And if you're planning a trip to Portugal or Spain, my Foodie Travel Guide ebooks are your best bet for finding the best things to eat and drink and the coolest things to do. Lisbon, Porto, Seville, San Sebastian, they're all here at buymeacoffee.com/destinationeatdrink. Browse around and I'm sure you'll find something that tickles your fancy. Okay, dark hedges, how to tell when the Irish like you, fun pubs, I'm starving, so let's eat.
Destination Eat Drink.
Samantha Brown is the award-winning creator and host of Places to Love, the great TV show on PBS. She tells me about the Titanic experience and the friendly people of Belfast. I feel like Belfast is kind of having a moment right now. A lot of people are talking about Belfast. You know, maybe 15, 20 years ago it was all about Dublin. Now people are really talking about Belfast a lot. What is it for you that makes Belfast a special place?
I think it was a place that really lives in our memory for those of us who are old enough as a place of strife,
right?
Of civilian conflict, the Troubles. We all remember that. And to go back to a place that now is experiencing peace, not total harmony, but they've all learned to live with each other. These are great lessons for all of us these days, I think, as well, that even as fellow countrymen or fellow people who live in the same city or the same state or the same country, we have very, very different views. And we can slowly try to work them out. So I love being there because it was one of those places that, maybe 10 years ago, I just didn't think I would go. And now it is, because it is different. It is, you feel the sense of familiarity because it is on the, Ireland, the island of Ireland. But there is a difference. Very, very friendly. Oh my gosh. You can't walk without someone stopping you and talking to you just on the street. And just so that quintessential Irish friendliness is there. But they have, I had no idea that that's where the Titanic was built. So the Titanic was built there. And I mean, everything from the carpets to the furniture to the ship itself was built in Belfast. And so you hear from them, they have a wonderful new experience, a Titanic experience. It's not really a museum. It's more of again, an experience of the Titanic where you really learn about how it was built here, there. And it's just wonderful. And you realize that what a shock that was to see that ship go down. And we always know because of movies, we always think about the ship as it sunk. But we don't think about the ship as it was being built and the pride it gave an entire city and what happened to that city when it sunk. We actually got to talk to a granddaughter of a joiner of the Titanic. He was built to do the carving the wood and the banisters and all the beautiful woodwork you see. And she said her grandfather, you were never allowed to bring it up. He never talked about it after it sank. And just that feeling of understanding. That the Titanic, this story, this real happening just resonates so strongly still today. So that's where it was built. And then through that, the shipbuilding, you understand about this entire city's incredible industrial prowess. It was such a strength, and how that went away. But now coming into their own is just this vibrant city of music, of art, of course beer and all those things. So it just feels feels familiar, but it's different. And I think that's what makes it really fascinating to a lot of people.
What kind of food did you enjoy in Belfast?
There was a few restaurants that people all gravitate towards. And we specifically, Brent, don't go to high-end restaurants because we feel like that just knocks out a lot of people who all they have is the budget to travel. And we can find some of those experiences in more in just mom and pop kind of places. But for Belfast, where their food scene is the more very, very high end, very produced food scene. And so we made a decision not to show that because we wanted to show more of the heart. So where we found the food was really, we didn't do any in Belfast. We were at a castle because then we left for the countryside and we went to this wonderful castle where they make all of their food on premises, from ice cream to scones to the meat. And you go to this castle called Glenarm Castle, and it's a working castle, working farm, and so you enjoy what they produce right there on their land.
Sounds wonderful. That sounds like an amazing experience. Oh, sign me up.
Yeah. From the cows you're looking at, you're like, you made this strawberry ice cream. Thank you.
Oh my God, so good. Grainne Lawler is a foodie tour guide in Dublin at flavortrails.ie. She talks about Irish pubs and what makes them so special. We're going to enjoy some Irish whiskey on your tour. And I think we've got to go to some pubs as well. We've talked about O'Donoghue's. We've talked about Gravedigger, I think was the name.
Yeah, the Gravediggers. Yeah, very good.
Do you have some other favorite pubs and maybe some pub etiquette for us?
Yeah, look, it's my favorite thing about Ireland is the pub, and it's such a cliche for a reason. I do want to point out that Irish people do not drink any more than anybody else in Europe. Okay, it's how we drink is a bit different, I think, and it's that thing of we love talking about going to the pub and we love talking about having a drink. I don't think it means that we drink any more than anybody else. It's a bit like in the States, people have no problem talking about money. In Ireland, we'd never talk about money. It's a bit like that with alcohol here. So I do want to put that in there. We have a terrible reputation for the drink, but I think it's really about the pub. And the pub, when I lived abroad, my mother used to ring me, and Irish mothers, they'd ask you very leading questions. What do you miss most about home? Don't say the pub is what she'd say, and it definitely is. So the reason Irish pubs are so iconic is they all do different things. So we have Guinness pubs, whiskey pubs, storytelling pubs, Irish music pubs, Irish dancing pubs, talking pubs. The list goes on, and everybody needs to figure out what part of our culture they want to enjoy, and we tell them where to go. So the other important thing to note is that in Ireland, we don't sell culture. So our museums are free, our galleries are free, and the entertainment in the pubs at night time is free. And this notion of free culture comes from Celtic times, when the most important attribute of a Gaelic chieftain was hospitality, and they had to symbolize their hospitality on their land. So they had to have a building that had a minimum of 4 doors. And once you entered the building, all the hospitality was free. So the food, the drinks, the entertainment. So the minimum of 4 doors represented the ease of access to the hospitality. And one of the High Kings of Ireland, the O'Neills, they were said to have 12 doors on theirs, just to prove how hospitable they were. So when you go into an Irish pub, most Irish pubs have multiple doors in them still today. And this is a throwback. I'm not sure that it's intentional, but it's certainly a throwback to this. And that is why we have free access to entertainment in the pubs. We are so privileged to have that. When I lived abroad, especially in the States, and you have a cover charge on the pub, on the bar, I'd be like, what are you talking about?
Right.
And I didn't understand that I was the privileged one, that we have such amazing access to a really high standard of entertainment for free. So that's the first thing. You need to figure out what part of the culture you're looking for. So somewhere like O'Donoghue's that you've already mentioned, the Cobblestone, Devitt's, the Stag's Head, all of these pubs are really famous for music. So it's that traditional Irish music. It's what you're imagining, the bodhrán, fiddle, the uilleann pipes. They're really famous for that. Somewhere like Darky Kelly's, which has its own ghost. Why wouldn't you want to go there?
Oh.
It's the right amount of rowdy. It's really famous for the singing element. You know, we want to get into those folk songs that everybody's imagining. Storytelling then is another major thing. And we get a lot of storytelling troupes. So I'd encourage anyone to look out for Candlelit Tales, who travel around Ireland. They're sometimes in theatres, so sometimes you pay to go into the theatre. Absolutely do it. Sometimes they're in the pubs, but it's absolutely worth, doing a little Google search for where am I going to get that storytelling, and then talking. Talking is a national pastime in Ireland, and it's one of the countries where I think, especially women traveling on their own. Ireland is one of the best countries for that. I've traveled a lot on my own, and I really only appreciated home when I left, that I can go into any pub, in the city, and go in for a bit of music, go in to read my book, go in for a little chat with somebody at the bar, sit up at the bar, put your phone away. You're going to end up in a conversation with somebody. That's a massive part of the culture. Conversation is an art form in Ireland, and it has to be allowed to be practiced. So pubs like Grogan's, I've seen them in Grogan's confiscate musical instruments at the door in case people had notions of playing music in the pub. It's hard conversation in here. It's also the artist pub of Dublin. So it's chock-a-block with contemporary Irish art. So it's, ripe for the picking. We've got literary pubs, whether that's the Palace, the Dane Tavern. So we've 4 Nobel laureates for literature out of Ireland. And, where did they influence each other? In the pubs. So that's it. It's absolutely, people say, if I could only do one thing in Dublin, what would it be? And I'd say, get some music in the pub. That's what you got to do. It's such an important part of the culture, and it's alive and it's thriving. That's the other important thing. And it's old and young people in the same space. That is what the feedback I'm getting. I'm almost immune to it now, and I can't believe the amount of people that say to me, Grania, old and young people sitting down together in the same space. You really don't get it to this extent anywhere else.
And it's an amazing experience because, like you said, you don't, this stereotype that everyone's drinking. You don't have to drink when you go into a pub. It's not a requirement, and not everyone is doing it. I've gone into pubs and had a tonic water and something and maybe something to eat, and nobody is judging you. But the other thing is, if you can't get into a conversation in Ireland, I don't know where you're going to be able to do it, because people just approach you, they're curious. They want to talk, and you will have the most fascinating, entertaining, funny, crazy, sometimes sad conversations with folks in a pub in Ireland. It's an experience unlike any other. And some of my richest travel experiences have been in pubs in Ireland.
100%. And I also say I get shocked sometimes at the amount of people that say to me, oh, we were out in the pubs last night, but they were all very full, so we didn't really go in. I'm like, lads, you gotta earn it. You have to invest in the pub, and your investment is time and effort. So you elbow your way to the bar, you get your drinks, you stand up against a pillar or the wall, and you eyeball everybody in the pub. And eventually, like, body language is everything here. We communicate in all levels in Ireland. Somebody will give you a wink, and that means we've acknowledged you're looking for a seat. We're leaving after this one. They might take your coat and put it on the chair. I've never stood in a pub all night if I didn't want to. I've always gotten a seat within 10, 15 minutes, because it's very much a movable feast. You might be going into one pub with people after work and you're having a drink with them, and then you're heading up the road to meet your uncle, for an hour, and then you're finishing up in the pub with your friends, kind of thing. These things are very movable. So don't be afraid of all the people. Go in and invest in the pub. And places like I've mentioned it already, Grogan's, they're amazing. You go in, the minute you order your pint, they're scooching people up to say, move up there now. There's loads of room for 2 more people in there. There's no such thing as personal space in Ireland, that's for sure. It's not for the faint-hearted, and you do have to understand, I suppose you talked about etiquette there in the pub. there is a little cultural anomaly that you do need to be aware of. Like the single most important thing to Irish people is the crack, and crack is not what it is in North America.
Right.
Crack is like mischief or fun. It's like it's saying, the most common saying is "What's the crack?" And it's like saying what's happening with a wink. So we're trying to figure out, is there any mischief in you? And how we might try and figure that out is we might insult you a little bit. So the more we insult you, the more we love you. So I might say to you, where did you get that sweater? And you say, same place you got yours. I'm like, oh, there's a bit of crack in him. Whereas if you went, oh no, do you not like it? And we go, oh, that poor fella's very hapless over there. We better leave him alone. He's not going to be able for us. So the crack is really important, and you sort of need to be a little bit ready for that. So if somebody comes up to you and insults you a little bit, it means actually they want to get to know you. They're test driving you out a little bit to see, will you be able for the full conversation?
Well, I'm from Chicago, so I feel right at home,
Well, if you come to Ireland more than once, it means you're used to it and you're not afraid of us.
Pip Jones is a travel writer, host of the Travel Goals podcast, and the creator of Pip and the City. She tells me about film tourism and the fascinating Game of Thrones sites in Ireland.
What a lot of people don't realise is that 80% of Thrones was actually filmed in Northern Ireland.
Okay. Let's talk about Northern Ireland, because I read that. I've read your articles about Game of Thrones, and I was like, oh, I've never seen anyone talk really about Northern Ireland as far as Game of Thrones. I see Iceland, Croatia, and Malta mentioned time and time again, but not Northern Ireland. So tell me about that a little bit, Pip.
Well, again, it's a perfect setting for film tourism, especially for a fantasy show, because it's got all those enchanting landscapes, isn't it? It's atmospheric hills and kind of the raging ocean, crashing against those gorgeous towering cliffs. I just think it's a brilliant place. But yeah, most of the series was filmed there. Production was also based there as well. And there are so many tours now. You can go on a self-guided tour. You can take your car over on the ferry, as we mentioned, or you can rent a car. And you can go on like a Game of Thrones road trip, which is what I'll be doing in April this year, and visit all those locations. Or you could arrive somewhere like Dublin and book a bunch of tours. So, there's lots of different tours which will take you to the different locations. There's the studio tour in Northern Ireland, in Banbridge, where you can actually see some of the sets and the costumes and the props from the series. But some of my favourite locations to visit in Northern Ireland include the Dark Hedges. Have you heard about this before, Brent?
I knew about the Dark Hedges, removed from Game of Thrones. I mean, it was a pretty well-known attraction before Game of Thrones came along, if I'm not mistaken, because I've seen pictures of it for years and years and years.
Oh, it's absolutely glorious. So
describe it a little bit, because it's totally surreal.
It is. So it's this avenue, and it's kind of like got that sort of like, enchanted quality almost. It's like an avenue of beech trees in County Antrim, and it was used as the filming location for The King's Road in season 2, and that's when Aya and Gendry escaped King's Landing in the back of a cart, and there's a beautiful shot of it in that episode, and you can sort of see this lovely line of trees. Unfortunately, Storm Gertrude kind of wrecked a lot of the trees in 2016. But I know it's really sad, but the one positive outcome, I suppose, was that they actually collected some of the fallen trees and they turned them into Game of Thrones doors. Cool. That have been placed. Yeah. These beautiful, intricate carved doors that have been placed around Northern Ireland. And it's called the Journey of Doors. So I've been to several of them. And each of them tells the story of episodes, I believe from season 6. And they're displayed across the country. And you can actually go and visit some of them. One of the places you can visit, one of these doors, is in Ballintoy Harbour, which was the location of the Iron Islands. And this is a really cute harbour that's like a crabbing hotspot as well as a film's location. And it's served as pike. which, as fans will know, is the home of Theon and Yara Greyjoy. And whilst you're there, you can visit a place called the Fullerton Arms, which I absolutely love. And it's this lovely traditional pub which has an Iron Throne replica that you can sit on, that I have a picture on, in my Khaleesi outfit, obviously. And they've also got one of the Thrones doors there. I believe it's Thrones Door 6, which focuses on Drogon, and that's Daenerys. She's the mother of dragons. That's her most aggressive and fearsome dragon. And whilst you're there, oh my goodness, I hope they still do this dish. I'll find out in April, I'm sure. But when I visited, I had an amazing seafood chowder there. Because obviously you can get quite a lot of really fresh, nice seafood in Northern Ireland and in the Republic as well. So if they're still doing that dish, which I hope they are, make sure to have the seafood chowder there with their homemade bread. It is absolutely divine.
That is something to do. And Pip, you've always got the greatest pub recommendations. I mean, if I'm thinking of going to a pub anywhere in the UK or Ireland, it's like, talk to Pip because she knows the places, man. Okay, that's Pip Jones. You can read her work and listen to her podcast, Travel Goals, at pipinthecity.com. And I've got links to my other guests as well in the show notes. Grania Lawler's Flavor Trails is at Flavor Trails. That's FLAVOUR trails.ie. And Grania will be here for more talking about Dublin in a future episode. I'm planning on having that real soon. And Samantha Brown's Places to Love is at samantha-brown.com. Well, that's it for this week. Happy St. Patrick's Day. Next week, we're in Phuket, Thailand for a Hokkien noodle crawl, tea leaf salad, and Mom's Amazing Gang Som. Don't miss that. Until then, get your foodie travel fix at destinationeatdrink.com. I just posted a new story. This one is about the most beautiful spot in the Azores. And there's plenty of pictures for you to see as well as the story to read at destinationeatdrink.com/blog. I've also got a brand new video. This one's about my favorite city in Belgium, Ghent. I do a chocolate crawl there. Belgian chocolate in Ghent, so good. See that by clicking on the video tab at destinationeatdrink.com or by going to my YouTube channel. That's youtube.com/@destinationeatdrink946. And if you're planning a trip to Portugal, my Foodie Travel Guide ebook is your perfect companion. 17 cities and towns with the best things to eat and drink and things to do in places like Lisbon, Porto, the Azores, as well as spots like Sintra, Braga, and Aveiro. All that for just $9.99. You can get that as well as all my Foodie Travel Guide ebooks at buymeacoffee.com/destinationeatdrink. Destination Eat Drink is distributed by the Radio Misfits Podcast Network and Ed Silla. Thanks, Ed. I'm Brent Peterson, and I'll see you down the road.
Join us next week for another culinary adventure on Destination Eat Drink, a presentation of the Radio Misfits Podcast Network.